All right, ready for leg day? We are going to do a combination of dumbbells and resistance bands. It's going to be a tough workout, so buckle up. Make sure you get your warm-up in. I've already done mine. Typically, I'll do a lower body warm-up, do some light stretching, stretch out the low back. So we're going to jump into a goblet squat. We're going to do combination of the dumbbell plus the bands, but set one, we'll make it simple. We'll just do the dumbbell, and then we'll take the exact same thing, and we'll add the band into it. So, let's see. I'm not really sure which dumbbell, but we'll grab this. So typically the form looks like this. I like to come down, rest it on my knee so I can get that dumbbell in position. And this is right where we're gonna hold it, right here. You just wanna kind of hold it close to your body. And then it's a regular squat, keeping that torso nice and upright. Drop that butt back, weight on the heels, and drive it up. And we want to keep a nice slow rep tempo, make this harder. So 1, 2, 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, keep that rep speed. No, same thing on the push. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm not rushing these. One more. Nice. And to finish, same thing. Let's go ahead and stretch out. Start with the quads. So the nice thing with that goblet squat, it's a lot like a front squat. Promotes better technique. Where a lot of people go wrong in their squat, they have a tendency to lean forward. It's a strong position. So I see like strength athletes, power lifters, they'll lean forward more, get the bar really low on their back. But I'm not a power lifter. So I want to focus on upright posture, dropping that butt back. And so by holding the dumbbell out in front, you have to keep better posture, because if you lean forward, that dumbbell starts to hang out here in front. So we have to stay upright and keep it close to our chest. Stretch out the hamstring. Say this a lot, but there's a difference between bodybuilding and powerlifting when it comes to technique. A squat for powerlifting is not the same as a squat in bodybuilding. Same thing with bench press. There's a difference between all out, just trying to get the rep, versus trying to make a muscle work hard to build it. And a lot of times that gets blurred. All right, try to keep our rest period short. That was nice. But I want to do a combination of bands with a dumbbell. And truthfully, I've never done the combination with a goblet squat. So you get to problem solve with me here. Just thinking about the setup and takedown. Let's try it. Yep. All right. Let's give this a try. I would say with exercise like this, there's kind of like the initial problem solving of setting up. So we're going to get that band over the top of it, just like yay. And let's see how this works out for us. That didn't work out. So, plan B. Make sure you get that nice and low so it's on your shoulders. There we go. Keep that rep speed. Six. Yeah. Push through. 7. 8. 9. 10. Still been really struggling with my back. I would say right now, probably one of the disadvantages of that goblet squat, having that weight out in front, it's pulling you forward a little bit. So placing probably a little bit extra stress there. It's good stuff. Stretch it out. Popular question is, if you have some sort of injury and exercise is uncomfortable, what do you do? There's no magic answer. I don't think anyone can really answer it for you. They can give you suggestions, but you're gonna have to try different things. But there are different techniques. So for example, with this, weight's bothering my back. So one solution is going a little bit lighter, but how do I go lighter without losing the intensity? So one, we can slow down our rep speed, but we're already going pretty slow. So another is, it's where doing a partial can come in. We stick in the hardest part of the range of motion. So any kind of squat, here to here is the easiest. We're nice and strong here. Down here to here is the hardest part. So we can drop down in weight and do partials in that lower part of the range of motion. Let's try. Doesn't take much. Challenge you to even just do these with no weight at all. Just do partial squats, body weight only. You'll feel the burn. Okay, so drop down in weight. So we're gonna go all the way down and then just halfway up. 1, nice and controlled, no bouncing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh. All right. Definitely felt that in the quads. Much easier on my back. Now you hear some people say, always train in full range of motion. No, it doesn't always have to be that. Yes, ideally, most of the time, there's a benefit to train full range of motion, but there's still benefit to incorporating partials. It's a problem in fitness. It's turned into this always and never mentality. And it's rarely that way. It's a lot of middle ground. Whew. Stretch it out. We're going to move on to another exercise that's a request. Had a few people ask me about doing a dumbbell version of a Bulgarian split squat. So I'll show you what it looks like. This technique can be the same whether it's dumbbells, do with bands too. So we need a bench. If you're training at home, you could use a chair. So Bulgarian is back foot elevated. So a couple of do's and don'ts, basic ones. So first one, that back foot, we don't want to push with it. We're using it really just to balance here. We are driving with this front leg. So number 2, foot position front to back. If we're too close to the bench, then we come too far forward. See how far forward my knee is over my toes. We don't want to be too far away either. Ideally, what I like to do with these, so that I really feel it in the glutes and hamstrings, which is what I'm targeting more than the quads, I like to try to line my knee up directly with my ankle. And that way I feel a little more tension back here. I get less range of motion at the knee. Remember, more we move at the knee, the more we're using quads. The more we move at the hip, the more we're using glutes and hamstrings. So I like to step a little further away, foot back, and then torso upright. And we want to drop down, weight on the heel, and then drive back up. Oop, almost lost it, which is next tip. Don't try to put your foot directly in line with your front foot. You're gonna have no balance side to side. So same like this, you have not as good a balance here as you do here. So just widen your stance a hair. So foot forward, foot out to the side a little. Now I'm much more balanced, more stable. So driving through the heel, back up. Other mistake I see a lot of times is not going deep enough into this. They're staying too shallow. They're up in here. So you drop down and push that heel. My best recommendation, if you've never done these before, do them without any weight first. Get used to the movement, get used to body position, get used to balance before you add the extra complication in of trying to grab weights. So once you have form down, we're going to come in and do the same thing. Dumbbells are just going to stay at your sides. I also recommend trying to find a spot on the floor for your foot. So maybe do 1 rep without the weights, figure out body position, find that visual spot, whether it's a stain on the carpet, whatever it is, and get your body position down before grabbing the dumbbells. Seven, 8, 9, one more. 10. Yes. Now another thing, if you're in a gym and you see pads like this, they're adjustable in height. These are nice. It's comfortable because you can put that pad right on your ankle as opposed to your foot on the bench. Sometimes feels a little awkward. Really just depends on what you have access to. All right, other side. Find your spot on your floor. And you notice if I don't like my body position, if I would need to go forward or back, I'll just slide that back foot until I'm in the right spot. Drive through that heel. There's 9, one more. Shit. Oh. All right, we want to stretch it out. So doing a movement like this is targeting glutes and hamstrings. As they start to burn and kind of tighten up, if you do have a low back issue, it'll start to exaggerate it because glutes and hamstrings are pulling down, putting that stress on your low back. So it's important to stretch it out in between sets. All right. Here we go. And by the way, you can do these with bands. I'll show you a simple variation. See how it is at the bottom? It's another one that I don't typically do with bands. Let's see how it feels Find your spot on the ground, step on the band, you load it right on the shoulder. My legs are already getting shaky. Same thing. Three. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Oh, I actually like that better. 2 reasons. 1, I feel it more in the glutes and hamstrings. Probably because as you stretch that band, you're creating more tension. And so right at the very top, at that extension, you're getting maximum tension. But 2, you have a hand free, technically even 2 hands free if you wanted to grab onto something if you needed to balance. Whereas with dumbbells, if you need to grab something to catch your balance, you're gonna end up having to drop a dumbbell. So there is a safety element there as well. All right, same thing. Drop down, get that high in your shoulder. Probably not a terrible idea to set your bench up next to something that you can hold on to, just to get into position. And we scoop forward. I feel like I'm a hair too close to the bench. There we go. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh. That sucked in a good way. I like those. I'm gonna stick to those. You could even, if you wanted to, clearly do the combination, bands plus a dumbbell. Is it worth it? Maybe. Just at a certain point becomes complicated to set up. All right, stretch out those hamstrings. We have one more set of these. Leg day. So is that ball buster. Grab some water. Legs are already getting shaky. I also took, I wouldn't call it a break from leg training, but a break from real leg training. It was more like go and do what I could do some quick leg extensions, leg curls, just to work the muscles a little bit, but injuries kind of had a big setback. So over time, legs will shrink up a little bit. Your strength starts to disappear a little bit. Cardiovascular conditioning of doing legs. So the last 6 weeks been trying to get back into it. See if we can get the legs to fill back out. Oh wait, no one else. I was gonna say no one else gets on there, makes a comment about forgetting leg day. You know what? It's easy to get offended by what someone says, but you can just as easily spin that around and just use that as motivation. And acknowledge it like, hey, if they're busting my balls, clearly upper body development doesn't match lower body development, so let that be a little fuel on the fire. Go in there, train harder. Can't be sensitive about it. Reach a certain point in your life, sure, you don't want negativity, but you also welcome that kind of feedback. Positive, negative, doesn't matter. It's still feedback is feedback, it's just data. Process it how you want to process it, but still, it's another perspective. We only look at things from one side. If I'm looking at an object and I see it from this side, I don't know what it looks like from the other side. But if you're standing over there, you can tell me what it looks like. Gather enough data points, you're able to develop a better full picture of something. So that's a more constructive way to look at negative comments. Just see it as feedback. And just like data, some data is good, some data is bullshit. It's going to be where you want to sit down so bad. You're going to want to sit down, you're going to want to rest, but resist the temptation. Keep it moving. You sit down, it's going to take you another 5 minutes before you get back up. Push through. All right. Last side of our last set, at least for this exercise. Not done with this workout yet. I can tell I need to go forward a little. Remember, push the heel. If you push the toe, you'll start to feel more in the quad. That's 9, one more. Oh. Oh, fuck. I think the reason you hear a lot of questions about the Bulgarian is because it is a little awkward. There's a learning curve to it. There's a balance component. Are you more forward? Are you more backwards? Should you feel in your front foot, your back foot? So there's a lot of questions around it. I'll tell you the truth though. I'm doing it more today to answer questions. If it was just my personal preference, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It's good, but you can get the same thing done with other movements. I personally like doing a split squat with the bands, and I feel that way more in my hamstrings and glutes, and it's a lot more simple. This is just another option, and you may love it, you may not, and that's where you're just gonna have to try it, do it long enough to where you have a little mastery over the technique, and then decide if it's for you or not. I think the longer you do this, the more you start to develop your own personal preferences for exercises that you like. And that's what's cool about this. This is your journey. It's not somebody else's. You let someone else tell you what exercises to do, when to do it, how to do it. No, eventually, you get to do what you want to do, and that's what's made. That's the fun part about it. All right, so you can stay there. I'm just grabbing a towel. A lot of questions on the Bulgarian. And the other one that I hear a lot is difference between a Romanian deadlift versus a stiff-legged deadlift. To me, they matter a little bit more when you're using a bar with plates. There is some variations at the knee and at the back, so I'll give you the basics. Your Romanian deadlift typically has just a little more bend in the knee that stays constant, the back straight, keeping the bar close to your body, and you're gonna go down until you feel that tension in the hamstring, and you're doing this by pushing the butt backward, right? It's not bending forward, it's pushing the butt back, tension in the hamstring, and then driving the hips forward. That's what's making the bar go up and down. It's not your upper body, it's hip, right there. Looks a lot like the stiff-legged deadlift, which a lot of times I see people using a little bit straighter leg, which is probably why it gets the name stiff-legged deadlift. So instead of a slight bend, it's a little bit less. They're not locked out, but they're straight. And with a bar, people are coming all the way to the ground until the plates hit the ground. But by doing this, you're also going to end up probably rounding out the back a little bit to get that extra range of motion. Because if we keep our back straight, most of us can't hit the plates on the floor just because our hamstrings stop us right here. So to get that extra range of motion, you end up rounding the back. So that means then in the process of lifting it, you're getting extension in your spine and extension in the hip. So for me, I like Romanian deadlifts. It takes less pressure off my low back, and I feel more on glutes and hamstrings. But when you do dumbbells, because the dumbbells don't hit the floor unless you're super flexible, or same thing with bands, they start to look pretty similar, except for maybe little variations with the bend in the knee. So with that said, we're going to do a Romanian using the dumbbells, but first I think we'll do our initial set with bands. I was gonna grab low on the band like this, but then that does require some grip strength. So your other option, you go a little bit lighter with your band. Let's see how this feels. I think this is what I did last week. Loop it, hands through, use them like lifting straps, then grab the band. And so it'll look like this. Slight bend in the knee, back straight. Till you feel that stretch in the hamstrings, drive the pelvis forward. Push the butt back, back straight, tension in the hamstrings, push the pelvis forward. Pelvis back. And as you're pushing that pelvis forward, think about squeezing the glutes. Squeeze, 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 forward. Push the butt back. Push it forward. Three more. So long time ago, like 30 years ago, long time ago, someone in the gym told me to really focus on the eccentric phase of this motion. So that's going down. And think of your hamstrings and glutes like brakes. They're trying to slow that down. Resistance is pulling you down and you're trying to resist that. So this has the opportunity for a really good, strong, eccentric contraction if you control your rep speed. So think of what an eccentric contraction is. Muscles only contract by shortening. So the muscle is trying to contract, trying to shorten, but the movement is trying to elongate it, and you're trying to resist that. So that has the opportunity to cause trauma to the muscle, which is stimulus for muscle growth. Like almost imagine, a rope. If you were to try to stretch it, how maybe the little fibers would start to fray. All right, let me grab some water. We'll do set 2 with dumbbells. Let's stretch out the hamstrings. At the end of this workout, make sure to not only stretch out quads and hamstrings, but get on the ground, on your back, stretch out the glutes. By the way, next week, I'm going to start doing some giveaways. Come up with some different packages. Probably do some of these new red and black Undersun bands. Maybe access to some of our programs. Maybe some Maverick multi-V hydration product. So we're coming up with that right now. So I'll talk about that every workout that we do, though, just as a reminder. Try to figure out giveaways. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's every other week. But those are the details we're working out now, but I'll keep you posted on it. All right. So, same exact movement as with the bands. Do the exact same thing with the dumbbells. See how this feels. One of the nice things about doing these with dumbbells versus a bar, with a bar, it's out in front of you, and so you have to drag it across the front of your thigh, which is no big deal. But with dumbbells, we can hold them at our sides here, keeping it really centered. All right, slight bend in the knees, push the pelvis back, back straight, push the pelvis forward. Nice tension on the hamstrings. Nine. One more. Good. I have an idea for our third set. Easy way to incorporate the bands. Plus, it'll help you, I think, visualize the movement a little better. I catch my breath. I'll show you. Yikes. Okay. Now, with your bands, really not a big fan of anchoring them to anything square because you have corners, puts a lot of extra stress on the bands. You can do it at your own risk. You're just gonna loop it through itself like this. Undersun does make some different universal anchors or straps you can wrap around things, carabiner, and it's got a separate band loop. So that's a better way to make your bands last. But to keep the momentum here, I'm just going to show you this one set. So what we're going to do, probably should have moved my dumbbells into place. I can even drop down because it's going to make this exercise harder. Why don't you come over here so you can see it from the side. So even without the dumbbells, I want to step forward until we feel some tension here. So this is what the motion should look like. Back straight. And this band is pulling my hips backwards, right? So butt back and then driving the pelvis forward. So this is no different than when you see people doing any kind of bridges, any kind of hip extension, which that's exactly what this is. So when we grab the dumbbells, same concept, butt back, back straight, drive the pelvis forward. I gotta stretch out my low back real quick. Shit is on fire right now. So first, glutes. Other side. Low back is hating me right now. One more just to try to stretch out the low back. Just trying not to stretch until we're done, but it's starting to lock up on me. So we're going to get through this. I have to suck it up. Tell you what, I'm not going to pick up the dumbbells. I'm going to do this in combination with another band. Sometimes you just have to improvise. Get the job done. Plus, this gives you another variation here. So basically, we're taking same thing we did in set 1, but adding this extra band here. All right. Butt back. Pelvis forward. Two more. My form is going to shit here. Body's not always going to cooperate with you. So we're going to drop to the ground here as our last exercise. We're going to do some abs, but before I do, I've got to loosen up. You guys are seeing me in my worst here. I've broken just about every bone in my body, all sorts of injuries, but there is something about back injuries that fucking brutal. There's a reason why people end up on pain pills, and because it fucking sucks. But you just do what you can do. You work through it. you still have to be smart about it. Don't do anything that is causing more injury. So there's a fine line between being cautious and being a big baby versus toughing it out, having some grit, and being fucking stupid. It's where just kind of your own intuition has to kick in. You're going to have to thread that needle the best you can. All right. I'm just going to do some very basic crunches to get through this workout. As I always say, sometimes even the most mediocre workout is better than no workout. There's a part of me that would love to just stop right now and not do abs, but we're going to finish it off and do them nice and easy. And we're going to take the opportunity of being down here on the ground to stretch in between our sets. I'm going to try to keep all these workouts under an hour. So I'm going to look at Mike for my cue. How are we looking? All right, well, we got to finish up our abs in 5 minutes then. Nice. All right, come back up. Stretch out those hamstrings. All right, let's go right back down. So, just try to make those a little harder. Don't go all the way down to the bottom, resting your shoulders and head on the floor. Keep a little bit of constant tension. And then just get that little squeeze at the top, a little isometric hold. All right, we got one more set of these and we're done. All right, let's do it. Get it done. Little things like putting my hands out here, this actually makes it easier. I have less weight. If I put my arms back now, all of a sudden I have the weight of my arms, and that makes it more challenging. That's it. So stretch it out. Hopefully you're feeling better than me. But we got it done. Check it off the list. So see you tomorrow. It's our Friday workout. We're going to be doing shoulders.